welcome back to Develoquent. Today I'm showing you the 3 different pathways that you can take to become a software engineer in 2021. Let's jump into the video. Alright, so let's just get past this one thing. If you're on the fence about becoming a software engineer, just go ahead and do it. It's definitely worth it. It's one of the best decisions that I've made. Alright, so you clicked on this video because you want to become a software engineer in 2021, but you're just not sure how to get there. And I'm going to show you the things that I've learned and how to make you get there a lot quicker than I did, and to do it in a way that is going to work best for you. So the first path that I can tell you is going to college or university. So going to college and working to get a bachelor's or even a master's degree is really what you set out to do so that you can have that diploma after you're done with college. So when you go to college, you can specify your major and your minor. You'd probably want to go with computer science major if you're going into coding, software engineering specifically. So in my case, I took an intro to computer science class and learned about how computers work and how the internet works, and dove a little bit into coding with some HTML and just fell in love with it because I'm always someone who wants to be creative, but I'm not that good at drawing. Coding was a great way to get into being creative and problem solving in a way that I wasn't familiar with before. So college is going to be great for you if your personality is one that you want to have a set schedule. You want to be able to track how you're doing with progress through having grades, A through D, whatever it is. And you're going to have assignments given to you by your professors. Although I will say you're going to waste a lot of time going to classes that aren't going to be very relevant to actual jobs that you're going to be taking in the field. College is probably my least favorite option out of these 3, just because it's going to take at least 4 years. And then after those 4 years, you'll have a few coding projects to show a future employer as you're going through and applying for jobs. One setback with universities and colleges that I've found, and I'm no expert, but in general, universities and colleges just cannot keep up with the tech industry because the tech industry changes so fast. Like, for example, if you go to college, you're not going to hear much about React and Angular for front-end development, but probably a little bit more about Java and maybe a little bit about Python, and more of the fundamentals of programming rather than the actual languages that you're going to be using in a job. Now, your experience could be different depending on what college you go to. If it's a specified tech college or something that's not quite as huge and they can update their curriculum more frequently, you might have better luck with more up-to-date curriculums with the tech industry. A downside I would say with college that I've found is when you're working on group projects, the code that you're going to be using, a lot of the syntax and really how it's written and the way that you write it is going to be a little bit outdated compared to those companies that you're actually going to be applying for and how their software engineers write code. So overall, I'd say college is great for somebody who doesn't really want to have much of a risk and they just want to have a set pathway set for them about 4 years out to getting an internship with a company as a junior software engineer intern, and then making your way into a job through that internship. Let's get into the second pathway of becoming a software engineer in 2021, and that is a bootcamp. So you've probably heard of boot camps now. They're getting to be pretty popular. Basically what it is you go either full-time or part-time to a coding school where you learn everything there is to know to be able to get a job at the end. And this will be between 8 weeks and up to 12 weeks or even more than that. They even have 6-month boot camps. So I actually went to a boot camp called Dev Mountain and I did a full-time 3-month course. And basically it would be from Monday through Friday from, I think it was 8:30 or 9 to 5. So I'd ride the train there, be there all day, eat lunch, and be there the rest of the day. So this is a great option for somebody who is a go-getter and they want to do things themselves. They want to get it done fast, but at the same time, they want to have people there with them that can help mentor them and other students or colleagues that have this same goal in mind to be able to work and learn code in those 12 weeks that you're there. So I'll tell you right now, going into a full-time coding bootcamp is not easy. You're going to want to be dedicated and you're going to want to be prepared. One thing that the bootcamp did for me is they gave me a big long checklist of all the things that I needed to know and do before I went and started the full-time course. Now, this was a full stack software engineering course, so that included making sure I knew HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and got a little bit into Node and how front end and back end works together. Luckily, I did spend some time on my own learning a lot of these and also learning a little bit in college before I started this boot camp, so I was able to have a little bit of information. I would say you need to take at least a month of rigorous learning on your own before you jump right into a boot camp. Now, if you're unsure beforehand what to learn, take a look at what the bootcamp actually teaches, and so that you can know what their curriculum is, so that you can kind of base your learning off of what you're going to be learning in the future. So some of the things you can expect from a bootcamp is there's going to be instructors there, and they're going to teach you new principles of code every day or every other day. And then you're going to have time to actually apply those with a real project. And you should have a mentor with you as well, where you can ask any questions and they can help you get through any problems that you have. I would say the biggest thing that I learned at going to a boot camp was learning how to problem solve on my own. The number one thing that they would tell us is Google is your best friend. Another great thing about going to a boot camp is you're going to have a lot of different projects that you're going to be working on, and you'll have opportunities to work on those at home as well. For example, you have a few different personal projects that you'll show off to either your team or the entire cohort. And at the end of the course of that 12-week or however long it is, you're going to have a group projects that you can show off to all of the cohort of a full stack web application that you used, and it's probably going to be in the newest languages of React, Angular, Vue, of all the different single page application frameworks. So again, a bootcamp is perfect for someone who is really dedicated, who wants to learn quick and get into a job within 3 to 6 months. One thing I would say bootcamps do not teach you are some of the fundamentals of coding. For example, you're not going to learn much about all the different types of sorting algorithms, or in depth about databases and how foreign keys work with each other. You're also not going to really learn much about how Python or Java or C# and all those are different from each other. You're mainly just going to learn about how to build a full stack web application from back end to front end and how those connect to each other. Alright, and the final option that I have seen some people do and be successful at is learning code on your own. Now, this doesn't mean going to a boot camp or going to college. This is completely learning all by yourself and being your own cheerleader, whether you're looking online, reading forums, reading coding books, or you're searching YouTube and watching tutorials, or looking on Udemy and buying courses that way and going through all those, or Pluralsight. It's just completely at your own pace. You set your schedule, you decide what you're going to learn, and you're going to make that happen day by day. So the good things I would say about this are you can completely decide the languages that you want to learn, what type of career path that you're going to take, and you're going to decide how you're going to get there. The downsides, I would say, are you're just not going to have the help that you're going to find at college or at a boot camp. You don't have a mentor sitting right next to you that can actually pair program with you in real time. You might be able to find some people online to help you with that virtually. Another thing is when you're starting out and you want to get into software engineering, you came from a different industry, or you're just getting out of high school and you want to get into software engineering, you really have no idea what you want to learn. You know that you enjoyed something about a website, or creating databases is something cool to you, but you just don't know what languages you want to learn. I would say if you want to take this route, you don't want to spend that $10,000 or whatever it is for college or a boot camp. And boot camps can go anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 depending on what you choose to go with. Real quick, if you're finding value out of this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Learning on your own can be a great option. You can just buy courses here and there. You can get some on Udemy for $10 and they teach you a ton of things. But again, you're not going to have that mentor, you're not going to have that schedule, so you're going to need to be able to manage your time and set out time each day to be able to learn these things. Another thing is when you get your first job, it could be a little bit harder just because you're saying you haven't been to a school that teaches you these things, you've just learned it on your own. So you don't have a degree, or you don't have like a boot camp badge or a graduation certificate from an actual qualified school. Don't let that set you back though. You can choose any of these options depending on what works best for you. Again, I would say boot camp is my go-to, just because if you can get the money up front and pay for it, it's going to be a 3-month process. You're going to have a full-time experience and just go dive headfirst into it instead of just dabbling with it here and there. And you're going to be able to get a coding job a lot faster. So if you are going to go the route of just learning things yourself, I would say to be able to know what languages you want to get into and decide if you'd rather be a front-end developer or a back-end developer or maybe a full-stack developer, you definitely want to take a look at, first off, what are your connections around you? What friends or family members do you have that are software engineers? Ask questions to them and ask about what their path was. And I would say if you're going to be wanting to get a job in the next 3 to 6 months, you need to really look at the people that you know and see if there's anybody that's in any companies that are software engineers or know of positions that are hiring. I would say 70% of the jobs that I've gotten, and I've worked at about 4 different companies, 3 of those I think have been referring me to an employer. So if you have a friend that's in a coding job, I would say that's definitely a good in, and that's where you should start to get your first job. I have another video coming out shortly, if not already, depending on the time that you watch this video, of how to get your first software engineering job. So go check that out. The link will be up here or down in the description if it's out yet. And I'll show you the step from finishing school to getting your first job, between getting your resume figured out, applying for jobs, cover letters, and the whole process to be able to get that first job. So overall, I'd say for me, being a software engineer for a few years, going back and looking at the path that I took from starting doing a little bit of coding in college and then learning on my own before I went to an actual boot camp, I would say the path that I took worked out for me, and I don't know if I would really change much about it. But if I was going to start over, for someone that was just getting into coding and didn't have any of that experience that I do now, I would say if I could save up the money and start going to a boot camp, I would just go right ahead and do that. But after I took some time to learn things on my own and understand the fundamentals, if I was going into front end, like building web applications and more of a UI experience, software engineering, I would say I'd want to learn about JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and how those work together, as well as how I can write API endpoints to talk to a backend server. So if I was wanting more of a back-end software engineer position, I would go a lot more into understanding databases, working with Postgres or SQL, and then as well as writing APIs and different endpoints. I would say going into Python would be my first choice of language, but it really all depends on what job you want to get. A rule of thumb, I would say if you really have no idea what language you want to go into, look on LinkedIn Jobs or Indeed and see the job positions that are out there and look at their requirements, the languages that they require and the amount of experience that they need, and base your learning off of those job postings. And then just work backwards from there. So if you find a job that says, I need Python, Postgres, and WebSockets and Docker, I would say learn those things and get a good understanding of what those are so that you can really decide if that's something you want to go into. Or if I'd say that doesn't look like your thing, look at more front-end developer positions, and they might have something like Angular, React, or Vue, or even Elixir. But look at React.js and learn JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and how those work together, and even how you can connect those with a Node backend and communicate with a full stack application. Now, those few basic things I think will set you free to get started on being a software engineer. Let me know down in the comments if you already are a software engineer, what your path has been, and if you are wanting to be a software engineer, what path are you going to take? Any questions that you have, please leave them down in the comments below. There's a lot of people that are really interested in learning from each other, and I am as well, but I'll give any feedback that I have. All right, that'll wrap it up for this video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe if you got value out of this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.